This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Good evening, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for May 4, 2023. And in the news this evening, Candice Jackson killer gets a life sentence, must serve at least 22 years. Robert Fowler, the St. Catherine mechanic, who was convicted for strangling 20-year-old accounting clerk Candice Jackson to death in 2021, has been sentenced to life imprisonment with eligibility for parole after he has served 22 years and 11 months. The decision was handed down by Supreme Court Judge Justice Leighton Pusey in the Home Circuit Division of the Supreme Court in downtown Kingston on Thursday afternoon. Jackson, a resident of Independence City in Portmore, St. Catherine, vanished on March 24, 2021 after leaving home for work. Her body was found in a ditch on the Dyke Road in St. Catherine 2 days later. Shortly after, Fowler, with whom she had traveled to work at times, was arrested and charged. Fowler, by his own admission, said on the day in question he had picked up Jackson on Passage Fort Drive in Portmore. He said during the journey they quarreled over a promise he had made 3 weeks prior to give her money to buy something for her boyfriend's birthday. He claimed he had defaulted on the pledge because he was under pressure at work and the things were hard for him. He said when the argument continued, he turned his car around and told Jackson to take a bus to work. Fowler claimed that he then parked the vehicle along the road to Caymanas, climbed from his seat to the back seat of the car, drew Jackson over and strangled her until he saw froth coming from her mouth and she had stopped moving. He then drove the vehicle with her body to Forum Fishing Village, where he bound the hands and feet and left the body in an abandoned building. About 7:30 that same evening, he went back for the body, placed it in his vehicle, and took it to the Dyke Road, where he left it in a ditch. The following morning, he took her handbag to the market in Crossroads, St. Andrew, where he emptied the contents into a garbage bin. Nephew charged for uncle's killing in Clarendon. A man was charged Wednesday for last November's killing of his uncle in Darlow district in Moko, Clarendon. Charged with murder is 32-year-old James Clare from Darlow district. Clare was charged for the death of Douglas Clare, 47, who was from Rock Road in Clarendon. It was reported that on March 29, 2022, the uncle and the nephew, who resided at the same dwelling, had a dispute over money which became physical and violent. The uncle, the police said, was set upon and chopped several times over his body by several persons. He was hospitalized the same day, released and relocated to Osborne Store in the parish. On November 7, 2022, around 7:30 p.m., while the uncle was visiting Darlow district, he was allegedly attacked by 4 people who chopped him multiple times, killing him on the spot. He was pronounced dead at the Maypen Hospital. On November 21, a post-mortem examination concluded that the cause of death was multiple sharp and blunt force trauma. Around 9 p.m. on Friday, April 28, 2023, James Clare was arrested at a shop next to his home in Darlow district. Following a question and answer session in the presence of his attorney yesterday, he was subsequently charged. No court date was given for the accused. Fake cops rob family at a Clarendon home. Gunmen pretending to be police officers robbed several members of one family at their home in McGilchrist, Palm, Clarendon on Wednesday night. Shots were fired during the incident, but no one was hurt, the police said. It was reported that around 9 p.m., the family members were home when they heard a loud banging on the front door and men shouting police. They saw men armed with handguns, and based on their demeanor, became suspicious and tried to reinforce the door. The fake cops kicked the door open, and the 2 men forced themselves inside the house. Police said they robbed those present of a black Alcatel tablet valued at $20,000, a silver Samsung tablet valued around $30,000, cash amounting to $30,000, and a black and yellow bucket hat costing about $1,500. While leaving, the men pounced upon another family member and a neighbor who were returning home. One of the men grabbed her handbag containing a black Samsung S10e phone valued at around $23,000, a silver ring with a diamond, and a set of house keys and fired shots in the air. The other gunman walked towards a neighbor who fled. He gave chase and fired at him, but the neighbor escaped unhurt. The gunman fled in a waiting white Toyota Fielder motor car, the police said. Corruption charges to be laid against the PNP councillor Lambert Weir. The Director of Corruption Prosecution has ruled that Lambert Weir, People's National Party councillor for the Claremont Division in St. Anne, be charged for breaches of the Corruption Prevention and Integrity Commission Acts. The ruling stems from a report by Director of Investigation Kevin Stevenson that was tabled in Parliament earlier this week. The Integrity Commission says Mr. Weir knowingly made a false statement in his statutory declaration for the periods ending December 31, 2017, 2018, and 2019. The Integrity Commission found that the councillor failed to include information on a Toyota Prado he owned over the period. According to the report, in 2 letters dated October 2 and November 26, 2020, Mr. Weir explained to the Commission's Director of Information and Complaints that he did not include the referenced vehicle in his statutory declaration because it was co-owned. The Director of Investigation says Mr. Weir did not take advantage of the opportunities in March, April, and June 2022 to answer to the allegations against him. In an interview with the news on Wednesday, Mr. Weir expressed a shock at the conclusions and ruling of the Integrity Commission and maintained that he acted within the law. Ex-farm worker rejects a report on working conditions in Canada. An ex-farm worker is rejecting the report on working conditions of Jamaican farm workers in Canada, saying it is not a true representation of the facts. A fact-finding team was appointed last year following complaints by farm workers of poor working conditions in Canada under the Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program. The team said its overall assessment was that Jamaican farm workers were working under good conditions. It said workers from one of the farms identified in the complaints rejected the notion that slavery-like conditions existed at the location. According to the report, 71% of those surveyed described the treatment from their employer as either good or very good. When asked specifically if the farm owners treated them with respect, 87% said yes. But the ex-farm worker argued that the report is not credible, as farm workers failed to provide truthful information to the team out of fear of being victimized.
These people are new, so how can I trust you? I don't know you. I get calls when they were showing up at people's homes, and they said, we know that if we tell them the truth, they will ban us from the program. We have a wide network, don't believe that it's a network we're running here. Because it is by design. The system is designed that way. It's a systematic problem. They're not going to tell you that. You think people always want to come back on this program, but because they target people who have a need, cannot do without this, cannot live without this. I still have family who come on this because they have their children to feed. He's not happy. He complains, he gripes, and said he wish things were better.
Chris Ramsaroop, organizer of Justice for Migrant Workers in Canada, believes that the report paints a rosy picture and disregards the bad experiences of some farm workers.
The report itself paints a very rosy picture. In effect, it's a whitewash. I understand, yes, the committee only had 2 to 3 weeks to look at this information and to interview workers, but it contradicts over 30 years of academic literature that's examined the different forms of exploitation that exist in this program. Starting in 1990, academics here in Canada were looking at race and racialization and how Jamaican black workers were treated differently than white workers. It doesn't undertake the multiple legal decisions, starting with the Hizz decision at the Federal Court of Appeal, the Human Rights Tribunals, and other decisions that talked about the race, racialization, and vulnerability of workers.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.